That's the hardest thing about talking about this book because it's suspended as a question. You come into it and you hear these rumors, and I try very hard not to tip my hand either way. So there's that suspension of disbelief. Are you going to, is there really a demon? Or, are there other explanations for what's happening? Or what would it mean if there was a demon? And that kind of came from this feeling that here we are living in an age where we're seeing people doing bad things in front of you. It's obvious what they're doing, and yet people won't acknowledge it. And it made me wonder, what would it take? Would you have to see like the devil appear in a puff of smoke next to the person and put their hand on their shoulder to realize that they've kind of given away their humanity in exchange for profit? The family at the heart of the story are the Berishas, and they are one of the richest families in the world. Their company has been successful for 1,000 years, very fairy tale number there. It's headed by the head of the clan, even the whole family. His name is Zeph. He rules his family with an iron fist. We'll get into that in a little bit more. His wife's name is Olga. She was a famous beauty in Albania, which is the home country for this family, even though they really are citizens of the world. And you couldn't think of them as Albanians today. It's just something that the family sort of falls back on when they're under stress, kind of reaches back to those roots, these sort of mystical roots of their past. But the main characters are the three children. The oldest is Darden. He's the only son, and he's expected to become the heir to take over not only running the business, but to be the head of the family. And the middle child is Maris. Maris is the one who's most like her father, and she adores her father. That's all she wants, is to get her father's approval. Well, she feels that she is better suited to run the business than her brother Darden. She thinks that Darden does not have the killer instinct that you need to run this company. And boy, is she right there. She doesn't know how right she is. And so when she starts pushing her father to consider making her the heir, she sort of sets out off this battle royale within the family. And the last child is Nora. And we see the least of Nora in the story, but you'll come to see that she's really the most consequential character. And, she's the youngest. And so she's sort of been shunted to the corner a little bit. So complicating all this is this rumor that has dogged the family for 1,000 years, that they seem to have, well, to say an angel in their corner is probably misleading, but they just seem to have the most incredible luck. Their rivals crumble. They open up a processing plant, and an earthquake swallows it up. It's just whatever obstacles come in the way of the Berishas seem to be taken care of. And so there's been talk for years that there's something diabolical about this family. But, it's the 21st century, and we don't really believe in those things anymore. And some people even speculate that it might be sort of a fig leaf that the family hides behind, an excuse for their really awful behavior. So that's the story in a nutshell. We see the family starting to, it's a patriarchy. It's been run by men for 1,000 years, and it's very much in that respect a story for our times, because it's this patriarchy coming up against this rising matriarchy, and that's not going to end well. So this story is about two things, as you touched on. Succession was definitely an inspiration for it, although Succession isn't the only thing that this book is about. What it's really about, what made me want to write it, is I just feel like we're living in these times where it's almost like the 1990s again. Greed is good, right? All we care about, all we seem to pay attention to, especially on TV and movies, are the extremely wealthy. More and more social media, more and more, we just seem drawn to these people with obscene amounts of money and obscene behavior to match. I mean, we know that they're behaving badly, and yet we can't tear our eyes away from them. So that was the kind of story I wanted to write. It's a story about ethics and morals too. You see this family. Hopefully, I make you care about them in a way. Not that you can be a little bit sympathetic for them, especially when I show you sort of what the kids went through as they were growing up. But it's meant to sort of confront readers. Um, what do you stand for? Do you idolize people like this, or do you see them for what they really are? But then the other half is family. It's definitely an examination of this one family and the dynamics in there. And that's because I don't think anybody is born evil. I think it's, how we grow up, what we come to see as normal, what we expect to see in the world kind of helps change and shape our personality. And that's what we see in this story. We want to think that this doesn't exist anymore. But just like this family secret, it's there lurking under the surface. And if you give it a chance, it's going to pop up and raise its ugly head. So there's one chapter in particular where Maris, who I don't want to give anything away, but she's been sort of elevated to a very senior position in the company, one that she wasn't prepared for. And right away, she has to give an interview to the Financial Times. And she's being interviewed by a young woman also. But in that, I use that example to sort of convey the kind of subtle, you know, problems that women end up facing when they try to ascend or, try to establish themselves. And the reaction from other women to that chapter has been amazing. I mean, it really resonates. And it's a direct example of what I had to do, especially towards the end. I was sort of a middle to senior level management in the intelligence community. And the hostility you get still from the sort of closeted misogynist, it's alive, unfortunately. It's still out there. I like to think that this happens less now, but I think it's still prevalent in some cultures where the males in the family are favored for whatever reason. And so I think I've shown in this book pretty accurately how it feels when you're a very capable woman and you just want to be recognized for, your skills and what you can contribute to things, and yet you're constantly, being pushed down, pushed down. And that's the conundrum that Maris faces. She's super competent, super smart. Her blind spot, though, is she's trying to win approval from somebody that she'll never get approval from.